We extend a warm and hearty welcome to you all. I'll request the moderator, Dr. Kumar, it's over to you.
Good afternoon. I think this session connects very well with the earlier plenary chaired by Dr. Tripathi, where we discussed some issues concerning ESG and how it is important to look at what is going on in the ESG framework, and especially reporting by top companies on the BRSR guidelines. So in this session, we will pick up some of these issues and go into the details. And fortunately, we have a very impressive lineup with some regulators, the auditors community, the finance community, and also my former colleague from UNSCAP, Dr. Rajan Ratna. So, without any further ado, because we have already set the context for this discussion in the morning, and we just heard Honorable Minister as well. So, let me begin inviting one by one our panelists, and the time is very short. I'm told that we cannot take more than say 40 minutes. So I would in this group of panelists we have, I think we can begin with the there are two from the community of practitioners and consultants. So, Ms. Sarika Gosain is someone I could begin with. She is partner and leader ESG and Sustainability, Pierag Consulting. So, she can give a perspective of a consultant and practitioner. And the question I would like to pose to you and so to every one of our panelists, I'll pose a simple question to just guide their remarks. So the financial reporting, as we all know, has been there for a very long time. We have corporate annual reports where companies report their what they did and what they did not do and how they achieved their financial goals in the year. But the ESG reporting is still evolving, as we heard in the morning. Only few years ago, these ESG guidelines were adopted, and they are still only mandatorily applying to just top 1,000 companies. So, which non-financial data areas pose the highest risk from a reporting and assurance perspective, and how to mitigate those challenges? And value chain data, which is also included, or important for ESG, monitoring, is becoming central to sustainability reporting. So, how can organizations ensure the reliability of these practices, and what are you as a sort of auditor community doing about that? So maybe we begin with this question and then I'll come back.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagesh. This is also working, I guess. Hope I'm audible. So being into financial domain for last more than 24 years as a chartered accountant and a company secretary, I've seen that period when the financial accounting and auditing was evolving. Actually, currently we are exactly on the same era which we were on 30 years back when it is coming to ESG accounting and ESG assurance. And we have to go a long way to reach to that maturity when it comes to the point when we say, yes, we are mature enough on ESG accounting and ESG assurance. So there are 4 buckets I would like to bifurcate the issues in. So the first issue which I currently see as a consultant when it comes to gathering the ESG data and assurance of ESG data, be it BRSR or GRI, is the data availability. Data is quite not within the control of the company, and the data is exactly not available in the way which we are actually required to. That's one. Secondly, the data is quite fragmented, and especially because of the value chain what we have, and largely for the listed clients, and coupled with the problem of the small vendors or the supply chain members within the entire value chain. They don't have the data, they don't have the capacity and the training availability with them so that they are matured enough to give the reliable data to the companies. That's the second part. The third part is data ownership. Because the data comes from different departments, the data comes from different value chain, the data is not reliable. And the last but not the least, the bucket which I would like to, the data ownership. Since the data is scattered, nobody is ready to own the data as far as the completeness of the data is concerned. So when it comes to combating these problems, first of all, we have to have the same discipline of the ESG related data, the collection of the data or the assurance thereof, as if we have for the financial records. The training, the capacity building is a must for everybody across the globe, be it any kind of organization, service industry, manufacturing industries. The ESG related parameters or the KPIs are required to be embedded into the entire ecosystem, and therefore integration of financial versus non-financial is a must. So if we achieve the integration of the data, then we will win the battle. Plus, we have to see the global peers, what they are doing, because some of the countries are much ahead of us. So global peers benchmarking will really help us to achieve that maturity when it comes to ESG collection of data and assurance thereof. So as we know, top 1,000 listed companies are now gradually in a roadmap manner have already been covered in the assurance. And we can see we have the companies which got audited. I did almost 13 assurance for last 3 years or so. So the first year was not very good, but the second year we could see the maturity, and the third year is still progressing, and I'm glad to see the maturity with the listed companies. And as we mentioned in the morning as well, that it should also be extended to top 2,000, 3,000, and we will hear from the regulators which we have here. And we have a lot of questions from her today, even I have. So as we'll see, how we are progressing, but I'm so happy to see the progress as a whole as we are progressing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Madam Sarika Gosain, for sharing the challenges that auditors face in assembling and reporting the ESG numbers, BRSR numbers, which should be more credible. While we are with the consulting and practitioner community, let me turn to Mr. Ranjeet Pandey, who is chairman of ESG and Sustainability Board in ICSI. I think Indian Company Secretary Institute. So so you belong to this similar kind of breed. So I wanted to pose to you the adoption and integration of ESG, the role of directors and professionals like yourself, and the greenwashing, its impact on sustainability efforts and responsibilities, and what is the liability of the directors and the professionals. So over to you, Mr. Pandey.
Thank you so much. Thanks, organizers, for inviting me here and giving the opportunity to ICSI to present its thoughts here on the ESG and its implementation and integration. Institute of Company Secretaries of India is a statutory body and which is develop and regulate the profession of company secretary, and we are also company secretary as a practitioner. We are doing our own practice. So this is what the brief about the organization. As far as integration and implementation of the ESG, of course, though it is all applicable to 1,000 companies and mandatory reporting and assurance is also getting mandatory this year. Adoption and integration is still the biggest challenge. And first of all, I would start with the decoding of ESG. That is the most important part for any business organization. Why decoding ESG is important? Because target setting is one of the most important thing. That where you want to, out of 9 KPIs, and in fact now 13 KPIs, how many you want to integrate and where you are going to impact the E, S and G of the, say, whole ecosystem. Whether your business is impacting the environment, whether you can do better for the society, all these things are required to be analyzed. So decoding your business is the first parameter which is throwing a challenge for the professionals as well as board. That is part one. Once you decode the requirement that where I need to work upon to achieve my targets to become net zero as an organization, be it carbon emission, be it water consumption, be it energy conservation and energy consumption, and so on and so forth. Second point, which is very, very essential for any organization which is there and we professionals are helping, that is policy alignment with the all KPIs. NGRBC, BRSR core, all are giving the principles that these are the main KPIs you want to integrate and you need to achieve this and report it through the BRSR reporting. Policy alignment, aligning all the policy of the organization, be it social related policy, governance related policy, related party, transactions, and all whatever our organization is having. So that is second part. Third part is definitely implementation. And when I talk about the implementation always comes from the top to bottom. And in the implementation, one of the most important part is stakeholder consultation, stakeholder engagement. An organization which engages with the stakeholder well, and director or board at the level of say top, if they interact with the bottom, all the stakeholder, whether it is third party, whether vendor, supplier, employees, supply chain, everybody should be taken into confidence before taking the say setting the targets and goal for the ESG. Then your targets become more realistic, your implementation become more easy. So that particular second part, third part is integration and stakeholder consultation. Once my targets and goals are ready, then comes the review mechanism, and whether it should be a dedicated sustainable development committee or say committee which is taking care of the CSR, which will take care of it, or whether board directly is going to oversee the say implementation and related challenges. So that particular part is required to be taken care of. Then comes the transparent reporting. And fifth part is transparent reporting, and when my targets are realistic, when I have say defined the policies well, then definitely my reporting will become more and more transparent. And BRSR core is giving the say questions and guidances also, And various organizations like ICSI, ICAI, and in fact international organizations also given the standards for reporting. One of the main standard which has been aligned by the National Stock Exchange is also GRI, Global Research Initiative. So all those standards you can take into take care of it, and then reporting part can be given there. So once reporting is done, lastly, a review and say assessment and assurance. And this year it is becoming mandatory. But as a auditor, as a assurance service provider, as a consultant, we face a lot of challenges that, like Ms. Gosain has mentioned, that challenges in regard to the data or its authenticity, its reliability, and particularly ownership is one of the most challenging and tedious tasks for the professional like us to manage it. So I will conclude with this, that on this particular part, I think technology is going to play a major role, and some role is required to be played by a regulator also, where we can have, say, more clear, say, way to fetch the data and guidance on regard to. I'll give just 30 seconds, one example. Say, for example, I am sharing the data with different organizations. Say, for example, water conservation in my branch. It's very, very difficult to apportion that particular data in regard to my branch or my, say, office in comparison to overall consumption. So these kind of challenges in regard to whenever we are going for the assurance and data collection and reporting. And another point is sample verification is also creating a lot of problem, whether we take sample of 10%, 20% or 100% is required to be done for the assurance and assessment. Those challenges we professional face, but definitely we are confident that system is maturing, and gradually we will also mature, system will also mature, and we will be able to bring the ESG to the logical and transparent disclosure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for adding to the earlier remarks. And it's very reassuring to hear that we are getting there. The system is maturing gradually. Of course, it's a very early days. And I think we need to expand the breadth and depth of these reporting over time, so that more data is generated, more nudging of the corporate sector is there, and I'm sure we will get there. So before I turn to the regulator present with us from SEBI, I want to turn to Mr. Sanmit Ahuja. He is director of the Climate and Energy Transition Finance Initiative. So I think because finance is very important, and why we have these guidelines and reporting is for the financial sector, investors and fund managers to use and push the funding or investments to companies which are more sensitive. So I think your perspective would be very important. And so over to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ahuja.
Thank you. Am I audible? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you, Chair, for posing that question to me. I'll start with a little quiz to all of you. Who knows what's the total quantum of carbon emissions in the world? 57 gigatons. What's India's emissions? 3 gigatons. Right? IMF says the price of carbon, you've all heard of carbon credits, someone has to pay, right? IMF says the price of carbon credit should be $200 a ton. So 57 gigatons times $200. Anyone? $11.4 trillion every year. Every year. The world has to pay. This money does not exist. Right? So when we talk of financing, I think we close our eyes, we close our ears, we close our minds, and as if wave a magical wand and money will appear from somewhere. That's not going to happen. But let me also put slightly reassuring figure. How much money is managed by fund managers globally? $160 trillion. Okay. So is asking 5% too much to save our planet? No. Right? But why is it not happening? Because climate, environment is not yet an investable asset class. Right? Water sector, we don't price water. This part of Delhi gets 600, most hotels in this part of Delhi get 600 liters per capita allocation, 600 liters a day. Right? A human being needs no more than 100, 120 liters a day. Right? And yet they are paying 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 4 rupees a cubic meter. Cost of treatment is 6, 7, 8 rupees a cubic meter. Why are we subsidizing 5-star hotels? I fail to understand. India produces 750 million tons of biomass every year. The amount of energy, the gas we can produce, fertilizer we can produce, can solve a lot of our problems. So this energy shock, fertilizer shock that's come to the fore in the last week or so, we can address our own domestic consumption. But why money is not coming into these sectors? So let me give you an example. Parali burning, crop burning, right? The farmers cut the crop. The reason they're burning, because they have to resort to dual or triple cropping patterns in a year. Why? Because for 4 or 5 decades of using chemical fertilizers, our topsoil health has deteriorated massively. Carbon, stable carbon, organic carbon in soil is the measure of health, soil's health. We need 10-12% carbon. We're at 0.3% carbon. So that's not soil, that's mud. You can't grow food on mud. But why are we not willing to pay for it? Because somewhere the pension funds, the insurance funds, which are the largest pools of capital, that money has to find its way all the way back to the farmer. Now, you give money, contribute in your pension fund. Do you want your pension fund to say 30 years from now when you retire, or 20 years from now when you retire, sorry, I put money in charitable activities, I have nothing to give you back? We can't expect pension funds and insurance funds to fund activities in charitable form. They have to fund activities so that they generate returns. Right? So that market linkage does not exist. Most crop aggregators deal in cash. Right? It's a cash economy. Most waste that gets collected is a cash economy. So we've written to RBI, we've written to Ministry of Finance, somehow we need to bring these into the formal economy sectors, right? So let me just give you 1 or 2 examples and then open it up for the dialogue. So $200 a ton is not bankable today, and that's why the money is not coming in. How will you make climate affordable? Lever number 1. Any example? Any suggestions? Scale. New technologies are coming in. Solar only got adopted when scale effect kicked in. So why can't we apply the same formula to water, to waste, to agriculture, to farming, to fertilizer, to biogas? We have to bring technologies faster to market. Number 1, scale. India is the only country Perhaps China is the only other country that knows scale. So we have backed 70 plus technologies we were brought around from around the world into India across the climate spectrum. And in every technology, we were able to reduce the cost by 70 to 80% by applying the scale effect. Right? Number one. Number two, first of a kind commercial demonstration projects. Every venture capital, every private equity wants to be the first to go second. Pehla karke bata dijiye, then we'll come. Who will fund the first one? I cannot emphasize more the importance of funding the first commercial demonstration project. We have to do this as a no regret activity. Right? Second. Third, market makers. So there is a mechanism by which you give demand signal. That if you produce clean water, if you produce biogas, if you produce biofuels, I will give you a 10-year plus offtake agreement. We don't have those market makers. In biofertilizer, IFCO buys it, CRIPCO buys it, but they only give through tenders, 6 months tender, 1 year tender. If I'm putting a project, my banker wants to know that there's a 10-year offtake agreement available. So that's where market failure happens. Fourth, we spoke to 200 plus pension funds around the world when we were formed. So just by background, we were formed during India's G20 summit in 2023 and spoke to more than 200, 300 pension funds around the world. We want to invest in India. We'd love to invest in India. Our biggest reason for not investing in India is foreign exchange risk. It's got nothing to do with opportunities. It's FX risk. We spoke to UK-based pension funds. Pound was 85 rupees to a pound 2 years ago. It's 125 rupees today. In 2 years, the rupee is depreciated almost 40 to 50% against a pound. Same with dollar, same with euro. So if you are a foreign investor coming in, you're wiped out. So these are structural fault lines that we have to address. So back to the final answer. The faster we move closer to pension funds and the rigor that they apply, the better and more money will be available. And you mentioned data. Everyone mentions data. The digital sphere will always run faster than the physical sphere. Right? Right? It will take us time to build those infrastructure assets to start producing that data. So we are listing funds on NSE. We are listing funds on global exchanges to bring that capital from pension funds from that $150 trillion pool down into India. So scale, market making, guarantee structures and instruments, and go talk to pension funds and insurance funds.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing this perspective of a finance person and how we can scale up the money available and mobilizing the pension funds and scaling that up is very critical for. Now let me turn to the regulator on the panel before I ask my former colleague from UNSCAP to bring the final perspectives on SDG and international cooperation. So the question for our colleague from SEBI, Madam Surbi Gupta, Chief General Manager in SEBI, is how can governments and regulators tighten the ESG reporting and auditing stronger so that companies cannot falsely claim to be green or greenwashing and sustainable? So over to you, Madam.
So there are few steps that we have already taken for strengthening the reporting and assurance, starting with devising a standard format. Because earlier we had BRR, which was more of a textual thing, not very standardized, more of English writing. So we have tried to strengthen it by bringing in BRSR, which is more quantified, outcome oriented. This is the first step, and it is also supplemented with guidance note so that people can interpret, know what to report, and therefore reporting should be okay. However, when we analyzed the BRSR's file, we saw there were inconsistencies in the reporting. So say the company is saying we have a zero discharge policy, but they are not talking on circularity of water. So we don't know, is it inconsistency, is it greenwashing? Simply it's under that umbrage. So we again worked on it and we came out with a XBRL format so that the data is more standardized, hygiene checks are there, few intensity ratios are auto-calculated. Now, after that, when we again went into reporting, we saw that there are many companies not reporting on few KPIs. So the problem is that we have a sector agnostic framework, and probably it can be strengthened with having a sector specific formats. But currently what we saw was that in a, say there was an automobile industry, it was not reporting on plastic recycling, where we know that a lot of plastic is being used by automobile. Again, is it greenwashing, being deliberately, or just not being able to understand that it is material to them? Financial sector, especially banks, not reporting on recycling of paper. So we don't know whether it is greenwashing or actually it is just materiality not being able to define, which is hard to understand. So the best way to strengthen is to come out with sector-specific formats, which we are working on. So let's see by what time we will be able to come out with it. The other problem that we are facing is we have till now not mandated the boundary of the reporting. It's up to the company. Whatever boundary you want, you say that I'm taking only these plans, I'm taking on a standalone basis or a console basis or excluding this. Again, there's an area of greenwashing. You may simply miss reporting on companies or the plans or the offices which are more, say, energy efficient, not that energy efficient. So again, specifying boundary is something that we need to work on, probably uniformizing financial boundary and non-financial reporting boundary, but we have yet not reached that stage to say that. Maybe there are challenges in the reports. So while this is on reporting side, coming on to assurance side, we supplemented or strengthened the reporting by way of coming out with assurance. First, in case of assurance, we know that again it's a sector agnostic, anyone can do it. And the BRSR core framework is there. Again, we gave them the guidelines that, as Mr. Pandey mentioned, so that people can easily report it, know from where the data is coming. It's easy for assurance providers to look at that data. And we have even given GHG calculator on a spend basis. So we have tried to strengthen the assurance part. But I think further strengthening is needed because we need to have a framework around assurance providers as to what the skill set should be, the empanelment, the governance, the conflict of interest. So there are areas that we need to work on strengthening, but it's heartening to see that more than 1,000 companies are already reporting on BRSR. There are a lot of companies, especially mostly all PSCs, are coming out with reasonable assurance, despite not being mandated on many companies. And coming to your question, ma'am, 2,000 companies, we are still struggling with 1,000. But there are companies, we have around 1,023 reports last year. So it's been increasing, it's going beyond 1,000. So we are happy to see that.
There are a couple of clients of mine who are doing on a voluntary basis the assurance.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, now it's working. So thank you very much to bring this, sort of regulator's perspective. And I think we all agree that it's an early days of BRSR reporting. They are gradually maturing, as everyone has said. And we are happy to hear that SEBI is really focused on strengthening the compliance and making it more robust. Now, our final panelist is Dr. Rajan Sudesh Ratna, my former colleague at UNSCAP. And because he has been for a very long time in the UN system, I wanted to pose to him a question about how ESG efforts can better improve people's health and community well-being through stronger international cooperation. UN is all about international cooperation. So over to you, Rajan.
Thank you. Thank you, Nagesh ji. Much has already been touched on the ESG, the challenges and other issues. International cooperation is one area. But I would like to just dwell upon ESG and SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So basically, many of the SDGs are covered under the ESG initiative, and even when we are talking about here on health and water and well-being, they are all covered in any of those 17 goals. Now, few issues which are important for us to understand, and especially when we are talking about it in the Indian context. So how can this, now let me give you one specific example, and this is the linkage of E and S of ESG, the environment and social aspect. Now, being in Delhi, and most of the people who stay in Delhi, you know the seasonal burning of straw and how the air pollution rises in India, and that has become a global attention. Everybody who comes to Delhi or everybody will first talk about what is the level of pollution. And at that moment of time, really, we all are grappling with it, while the source is not from Delhi, but the people in Delhi are affected with it, and you can't do anything about it by sitting in Delhi, but you have to go to the source. So UNESCAP also, we did some of the studies looking at as to how this can be done, and we tried to look at some of the best practices as to how the farmers can adopt and you know, how they can use it as a circular economy, etc. But there is a talk in the previous session which I was, and that is was being stated. The farmers, especially in Punjab and Haryana, they have to, the turnaround time for processing the straw is too short, because they have to come with a new crop, and the only viable solution they find is to burn it and then get away with the next crop. Now, here, people are getting affected, the health is being affected, and the community and international cooperation perhaps could be important. The technological aspect was being talked, and the financial part. Because for both of these, when you talk about bringing international cooperation, you will require certain technologies as to how you can handle. And I was very happy when Honorable Minister, he talked about Parali, and he said that we are trying to build in ethanol from that. That could be one very important issue which perhaps a private sector, because government alone cannot get into all the levels and everywhere. And here, if these kind of initiatives, because I would be very honest, I have been in the government also. Many things government want and tries to manage, but it becomes a mismanagement. And therefore, whether it is an issue of Parali, because there it was, you know, we interacted with the farmers also, and there is a policy which promotes how you can get technology, how you can get into the circular economy, how you use Parali into compost and then convert into biogas. But at a community level, it was not happening. And then the government also has a punity measure. If you are burning, I will fine. But the farmers say that we are burning, but nobody could, because we are a good vote bank. So the authorities do not have the power, and that is where I think the role of private sector. And these are, I'm giving one example, but there are many such examples where international cooperation would be important, including in the water. The another example is net water positivity, which is covered under the ESG. And we all face the problem on sanitation, smart cities you have in India, but there is still a lot of water-related issues. I remember when I was a very young child, we used to drink water from the normal tap which is coming. Now, can we afford now? We are all dependent on this bottled water. Even at home, many the people I have seen, then they have the, so there are issues and there are challenges, and I think international cooperation for technology funding definitely has been talked by Mr. Ahuja, and the challenges. Yeah, sure.
Since Parali is a topic, hot topic, so I'll just take 1 minute to explain the issues. The minister talked of biogas or biofuel generation from the Parali. The plants expect the price of Parali about 2,500 to 3,000 rupees a ton. If the cost goes above that, the project becomes unviable. Right? The farmers only get 300, 400, 500 rupees a ton, if that much. Right? So farmers have no incentive whatsoever to do, they don't care anything about the environment, because, like you said, the turnaround time is so quick and they can't afford to hire the equipment to cut and bale the crop. So how did we crack this? In fact, this morning we launched our crop burning fund for exactly this reason. The goal was, when we spoke, I need 5,000 rupees a ton in the pockets of the farmer. If 5,000 rupees is the cost of Parali, by the time it reaches the plant, it's 7,000-8,000 rupees a ton. The price of biogas, biofuel goes up, no one's buying. And that's where international cooperation comes in. So our fund will buy the crop waste directly from the farmer, but under Paris 6.2 agreement, the carbon credits will come to the farmer. Right? So, so that is one formula, that finance, policy, technology, all three have to work together to make this problem solvable. Right?
Thank you. I think yeah.
Thank you. I think we have heard all the five very distinguished panelists, and all different dimensions of ESG reporting and how we make sense of them, and how where we are going from here. And everyone agrees that it was a very useful step that SEBI started the BRSR reporting. In the early days, but lessons and experiences are very encouraging, very reassuring that we can further tighten them. We can expand the scope and coverage, and although the 1,000 companies are reporting, maybe some are reporting voluntarily, but there is no reason why we can bring more companies in the net and extend it to, because it helps, or it serves a good purpose of nudging the companies. You know, even if you are not paying attention to what they are reporting, at the very least, they are nudging the companies because it is a public domain knowledge, and so it will put pressure, and the investors and pension funds can make use of this information to factor in the environmental consciousness of companies, whether they are worthy of investments or not. So I think, and then final point from Rajan about international cooperation. Sharing of good practices and experiences is very important. And we have so much of knowledge generated in each of our, countries and within the countries, and sharing of that good practices will help everyone to benefit from the fruits of knowledge. So on that note, I invite all of you to give a very big round of applause to our speakers, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a session well conducted, and thank you, esteemed speakers, for all of your inputs and making this discussion very interesting. May I now invite on stage Dr. Arvind Kumar. May I request you to kindly give us and join us on stage to present the mementos for this session's esteemed speakers. We start by thanking Mr. Ranjeet Pandey, Mr. Ranjeet Pandey is our esteemed panelist and is Chairman of ESG and Sustainability Board, ICSI. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. We thank Ms. Surabhi Gupta, Chief General Manager, SEBI. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. We thank Mr. Sanmit Ahuja, Director, Climate and Energy Transition Finance Initiative. We thank Ms. Sarika Gosain, Partner and Leader, ESG and Sustainability, Pierag Consulting. Our thanks to Mr. Rajan Ratna, Chief Advisor, India Water Foundation, former Deputy Head, SSWA Office in UNSCAP. And a very sincere and heartfelt thanks to the esteemed moderator, Dr. Nagesh Kumar, Director, Institute for Studies in Industrial Development. Thank you for steering this topical discussion. I request all of you to please join us front and center for a group photo op. Thank you all. May I request you to please kindly take your seats back amongst the audience. We are now ready to move on to our next session, which is the CEO's Leadership Dialogue. We are delaying the lunch break a bit because this is a very important session since we are behind time, so we would request you all to please kindly do cooperate.